Hello, and welcome to the unboxing of Imperial Aces, the new expansion for Star Wars X-Wing miniatures game. As usual, we have myself, Glenn, and
Cheryl.
And today we have a special guest with us.
Max.
Max is hanging out. Now, if you've been watching our videos for a while, or you've been watching our Instagram photos, or anything along those lines, you probably are familiar with Max. He hangs out with me and we play X-Wing quite a bit.
So much.
And so we decided it would be probably a lot of fun to have Max kind of hang out with us here today and unbox the new stuff. Is that fair?
So exciting.
Yeah.
It's like, if I was a judge, I'd be like, that, I ruled that fair.
Yeah, it is.
That's how it would be.
It's in bounds.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it hasn't gone and fled the battlefield, if you will.
There's no illegal maneuvers being done.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about the our dear friend, the TIE Interceptor.
He's your friend.
He's my friend.
Say,
what were you going to say?
He's really just your friend.
Yeah, he's like my best friend.
He's kind of like our enemy.
Oh, that's true. Because both of you guys pretty much just play the rebels, right?
Just the rebels. But, I see that the Interceptors often enough that I see them as enemies, but, we're equals still.
Yeah, it's like a friendly admiration.
Right,
Is that
exactly
what it is?
right.
It's like, yeah, I see what you're doing over there.
Yeah.
And I don't like it, but I sort of like it.
I actually love it. I actually love it. Yeah.
So we're gonna go ahead. What were you gonna say? I know I cut you off.
Yeah,
I'm so sorry.
it's like awkward because he's gonna be like a ridiculous side comment.
I may cut this. All right, that's fine. I may cut this. That's the magic of television.
Well, I was gonna say that I just don't like them because my first time playing with non-Glenn people was this week.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I got completely obliterated by a whole team of interceptors.
That's true. They basically just put as many interceptors on the table as possible.
I think there were like 5, maybe 4.
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
And I'm sorry. I'm sorry that was the situation that you had to be in. Are you going to be able to do this with us?
At least you didn't flip the table.
Right, yeah, which would have been really terrible. Yeah. There's lots of video equipment that it doesn't really make sense to do that. So let's go ahead and let's start out with just the model itself. So obviously the same TIE Interceptor we've seen so far.
Way cooler.
Yeah, what do you think?
What do I think?
Yeah.
I love it. I love having colors.
Yeah, it is. It is nice. It's nice to see color.
That's how I feel.
Right. Especially because if you look at basically all of the Imperials now too, I think the only ship that doesn't look similar is like the shuttle.
The shuttle and the bounty hunter.
Yeah, that's probably
Fire
fair.
spray.
Right.
Yeah. So.
The thing that I love the most about this paint job
is
that it's what a bunch of people wanted. Like, if you go out and someone's playing Interceptors against you, and they paint their ships, this is what you saw.
Yeah.
And so, Fantasy Flight just ended up doing what the people really were looking for. And that's cool.
Yeah, that is really fun. I also think I was always kind of really drawn to the Royal Imperial Guard anyway. Like, it's just as like a character, it was incredibly stark and incredibly interesting. And so the fact that in the expanded universe they took it, and then for Fantasy Flight to pick it up, I thought that was awesome. Like, I thought it was super cool, and I think it's a really cool model just to have. Do you think what?
I think you're cute.
I know. I know. It's very nerdy, but I do enjoy it quite a bit. So same model, also same dial.
Yeah.
Right? So same dial that we're used to.
They fly all over the board, basically, in one turn.
So, yeah, let's talk about that for a second. So, TIE Interceptor, what's the TIE Interceptor really good at?
Being the same as an A-Wing, but barrel rolling.
Get out of here. They're not the same. They do have a barrel roll.
Right.
They have, obviously, a few less hit points. That's probably the biggest criticism of the TIE Interceptor, is that it doesn't have nearly as many hit points. But and I think you are right. I think the dial is pretty similar.
It's close.
Yeah.
It's very close.
The one thing that's
I got you.
it's like Montagues and Capulets right here at the table.
I don't know what's gonna happen though. Who's dying? Is it you and I, or is it you and Max?
I don't know.
Both dying.
Yes.
All of the above.
Yeah.
So part of the beauty of this ship, in addition to the A-wing, is that they have such maneuverability. They can do anything.
Yeah.
And actually, these are better than the A-wing at that because of the barrel roll ability.
Right.
It makes it so that they can really go quick into like a battle while still maintaining like their firing arcs and staying out of other people's firing arcs. So
right.
It's really great in that way.
Yeah, I was playing one against one today, literally, and I'm in a fire. I have a fire spray going, and it literally just stayed alongside of me the whole time. So it's shooting at me, and I can't shoot at it, and it just for literally 3 turns it just happened, and I managed to beat that guy. But seriously, it was really bad. I totally agree. I think in addition to that, it has a lot of green on its dial.
Yeah.
And the benefit of obviously having a lot of green on the dial is because you get to do a lot of crazy things like push the limit. You get to do a lot of things like just a lot of the different stressful maneuvers. We're going to see some things that have to do with stress today.
There's only like one stressful maneuver.
There's
2 K turns.
There's 2 K turns, but the amount of green and the things that are green are really crazy. Like even a TIE fighter can't do a green hard 2.
Right.
So a green hard 2 is really cool because it's a useful maneuver and it's green, so it feels like you get a lot done. The obvious biggest criticism of the TIE Interceptor is it has 3 hull, which means if you get a bad roll or you don't get to evade that turn or things along those lines, you can kind of get denied the ability to take advantage of a lot of those things, and you can lose. So I think you can lose your ship. You can catch a really bad roll and die right out of the gates. So with someone like Suntir Fel, who's I think 29 points, maybe 27 points, that's a third of your points that can be out on one bad turn, which has literally happened to me.
Yeah, and they don't have shields, so they're also really susceptible to critical hits and especially direct hits because they have so few hull.
Right. Yeah, so obviously, first refresh, we're going to talk about what's different about him, what cool things Fantasy Flight gave us to, continue this war against the stupid rebels, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that. Max, would you like to read the stats of the first pilot? Tell us a little bit more about it.
So we have the Saber Squadron pilot. He's this guy right here, if you haven't seen it.
Right.
Can you see the table? Great.
Yeah, I think so. I think I have it in the shot. Yeah.
He has the same stats as all of the other interceptors as far as attack, evade, etc. But he costs 21 points and is 4 pilot skill.
Right.
And he has an elite pilot upgrade, which is a big deal.
Right.
So what does that mean?
So it means that you can throw an elite pilot talent on him. So something like push the limit or veteran instincts, any kind of elite pilot skill you can kind of throw on him.
Or maybe something really cool that we'll talk about soon.
Maybe.
I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, so Saber Squadron pilot, some of the people were not as excited that it didn't come with people of lower pilot skill.
Is this the lowest pilot skill?
So this is, in this box, this is the lowest thing that comes in the box. It starts at 21 points. Some people were frustrated it didn't come with Avenger or Alpha Squadron pilots.
Sure.
Do you guys have thoughts on that?
I mean, I don't think it necessarily needs to come with them. At least from what I've seen, everyone that has interceptors probably bought interceptors, or everyone that wants to play interceptors probably bought them already and is just adding to their collection with this. So, I mean, in my case, I had 2. Now I have 2 more with cool paint jobs and all these extra cards.
Right. So you don't feel like you would want to have, say, all the low, like 1 pilot skill interceptor?
I mean, I suppose it's possible, but part of what makes an interceptor really great a lot of the time is the text on a pilot card.
Right.
So at least for me, and this is again coming from the side of the rebels,
Yeah.
it seems to me like there really is a lot more going when you have at least one or two high pilot skill guys that are shooting first.
Yeah.
If you have all low pilot skill interceptors, they're gonna die pretty quick.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And obviously I feel like I don't necessarily felt like I needed Avenger or Alpha Squad pilots. I think Saber Squadron is sometimes usually as low as I'm willing to go as far as that goes, and I usually don't like to run interceptors that don't have elite pilot talents on them, and I like being able to push the limit on somebody or something along those lines. So that's typically where I sit as well. So so Saber Squad pilot skill 4. Other thoughts about him? Glad we have more of him.
Yeah, and I like his flavor text quite a bit.
Oh, well. Does he have cool flavor text?
Yeah, it's fun.
What is it?
It says, led by Baron Sunter Phil, the pilots of Saber Squadron are among the Empire's best. Their TIE interceptors are marked with red stripes to designate pilots with at least 10 confirmed kills.
It's true.
So these guys have been through a lot.
Yeah, this is not your alpha.
No.
Yeah, what have you?
They're not test pilots.
No,
these guys have been through it all.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go to the next one. The next one is going to be the first both new named pilot as well as the first unique pilot that we have. So named. I don't know what else I was going to say. Something along those lines.
Named and unique.
It's both. It is not just named and... Well, I guess the next one would... Anyways. So we have Lieutenant Lorrir. So Lieutenant Lorrir, same stats, but his pilot skill 5 does not include an elite pilot talent. And it says, when performing a barrel roll action, you may receive 1 stress token to use the one bank or the one bank template, either way, instead of the one forward template. What do you guys think?
I need to let it sink in a little bit.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So it basically means you can take the one bank template, which kind of curves, and you can basically kind of curve it one way or the other and do that movement. Mm-hmm. What do you guys think?
It's cool.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, there's... Ever since the moment this got revealed online, there's been nothing but talk about this guy.
Yeah.
It allows you to do so many new things, and they're maneuvers that have never been thought of really before.
Right.
And it's gonna, especially for someone on the Rebels side, it's gonna take a lot of thinking to figure out where this guy's gonna end up.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I just think, the thing that the TIE Interceptor really needed was more maneuverability, and so I think that that's really a benefit.
It's key.
It's really key.
Yeah, sure. It needed to be able to do weirder things that it wasn't able to. Right.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, I just can't do what I need to with this guy.
Awesome. I agree. I will say that I think... my first thought about this was, sometimes when they reveal pilots, I think to myself, dang it, that means that will never be like an elite pilot talent. Like for me, like when I saw this, I was like, that's the coolest thing. Also, man, I wish that were like an elite pilot talent that like multiple ones could use. Makes sense why it doesn't, but it is one of those that I thought. In addition to that, I also was kind of bummed out that it doesn't have... that it's both pilot skill 5 and doesn't have an elite pilot talent. So I definitely see myself using him. He's only 23. You're not going to probably drop much more than maybe a stealth device on him or some of the other new things that we have to look forward to. But I think he's fantastic. Apart from those two kind of initial thoughts, I think he's great. And I'm stoked about that. I just imagine putting push the limit on him afterward. So like he does a weird barrel roll and then push the limit. It would be really cool. But
he would be able to just literally go anywhere, and even back to where he started, but looking a different way. Like that, it would. I mean, it would have been too powerful.
Yeah,
really.
it would have been totally weird.
I'm glad that they didn't. I understand your really deep desire to wish that it did.
All of my postulations.
I mean, with this guy, I think you hit it right on the head with it being pilot skill 5, though. I think had he been either lower or higher, he might have been better. Because you could, with being pilot skill 5, you kind of find yourself in this middle ground where sometimes you're going to have to guess where your opponent's going to end up so that you can either block or get into the right position, or you're going to find yourself where you're actually moving after a whole squad of guys and you don't get to do the cool maneuvers that you would like to do.
Right.
So, I just like if he was bumped up or down to pilot skill, it would be perfect.
Right, and you can't use veteran instincts on him, which is another one that I thought of. Right, so great, but also all those things. Yeah.
Good.
Cool. Would you like to do the next one?
That was my plan.
Yeah, good.
Good. Okay, so the next one is the Royal Guard pilot, which is the red guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which you love.
Yeah, which I do. I do love.
So he's 22 cost and then has a pilot skill of 6. So
before we talk about the card as far as the game is concerned, I have a question for Glenn.
Yes.
Do you think or know whether or not these guys wear those weird helmets while they're flying?
Oh gosh, I sure hope not. I hope they look normal.
Yeah, maybe they're in red
I don't know very much about the expanded universe. So this as far as whatever, I will look it up on Wikipedia tonight. Right, as soon as we're done, I'm going to learn everything there is to know about them. But apart from that, I don't know much about them.
Okay. Well, we'll look it up, but you guys, people out in the world, should tell us.
Yeah, you can comment below in the what have you.
So I'm so interested. What if they wear those helmets? That's weird.
That doesn't make sense. That's a uniform, but I know. It probably doesn't make sense.
It's fantasy.
How much fighting are they going to do in that thing? Right. Okay, anyways. So, Royal Guard...
to protect their heads.
A helmet is not going to stop you from a lightsaber. Doors can't stop a lightsaber. Why is a helmet?
You never know.
So, Royal Guard pilot I would say is probably... It might be my number one most excited thing in this pack.
Why?
That's weird.
No, it really, because, first of all, if you look back at the Saber Squad pilot is 21 points and is a pilot skill 4. That's great. It really is great. There's a lot of stuff you can do at pilot skill 4. This is the first non-unique pilot, which is a 6. So there hasn't been a pilot that has been a 6 or higher, or even a 5, that has been non-unique.
You're right.
And what's really cool about that is it means that at 22 points, it means not only can you field 4 of them, but also it means you can field 4 of them and have room to put cool stuff on them. Like you can throw push the limit on them. You can throw veteran instincts and maybe a targeting computer, which we'll talk about in a second. It means there's just a lot of room to put stuff on these guys and still put a lot of them into play.
Right.
And to be at pilot skill 6, which means you're moving after any swarms, you're moving after bigs, you're moving after a lot of guys who have really key pilot skills. So I think this is one of the pilots I've been most excited about as far as that goes. Yeah.
Good.
Other thoughts? I'm sorry, I got really excited. I got really passionate about this one. Sorry.
Now, I'm someone that plays guys that don't have unique pilots a lot.
That's true. Because you tend to put a couple B-Wings, 3 B-Wings, and 2 A-Wings on the table. Right.
Yeah, I love that. And A-Wings are my favorite, as you may have heard from our maneuver template scenario.
Right.
But regardless, so it's interesting to me that this is your favorite because you tend to really enjoy putting guys down that have a cool ability.
Yeah, so I do love pilots that have skills. I would say that right now kind of the meta in general is really putting a lot of ships on the table. There is a lot of that right now, so it's hard to do some of that. But in addition, I would also say that having an elite pilot talent on a ship, having the ability to do that, to me is really huge. And it obviously is huge for interceptors. So I think, to me, the idea of having a really high pilot skill, and then in addition to that, having some wiggle room after that. So like even being able to put veteran instincts on all of them, and then even then have high things on that, I think that's going to be really, really huge.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Great.
Cool.
I'm glad. Like I said, I love that you love it. I really do. It's enlightening.
I have many passionate opinions about it. So, okay.
You want to give us the next one?
I would love to.
Yeah.
The next is Kir Kanos, another unique named pilot. He's also pilot skill 6 and has, the interceptor stats. This is another one that does not have an elite pilot skill. But he does have a pretty cool ability. So it says, when attacking at range 2 to 3, you may spend 1 evade token to add 1 hit result to your roll.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah,
That's
really good.
Cool.
Evades are great.
Yeah.
Evade tokens are awesome. But this guy can use them just cuz.
Yeah, so it means
offense.
I mean, it means theoretically, like that's in addition. So it doesn't replace 1 hit. It means theoretically, if you're shooting at range 1, you could get 5 hits out of it.
Oh, yeah.
No, it only works range 2 to 3.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So
if you're at range,
you get 4.
You could get 5 hits if you buy them on the black market. No,
but
so
you can
2 and 3.
Yeah, so you can get 3 at range, or I'm sorry, you can get 4
Yes.
at range 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, really great. I feel like I'm only critiquing things, but I do kind of wish I could push the limit onto it. Obviously, I think a lot of people are going to feel like that. I do love it, but having, it means, the one thing I will say is it means that basically he's shooting, it's before any swarms would be shooting. So I think it's good because it's at range 2 and 3, but it does mean that it's going to be, everybody else is going to be shooting after him.
Well, and I mean, I think that this card is going to shine most along with some defensive modification cards.
Yeah, okay.
So, I mean, ideally, he's going to stay at range 2 to 3, hopefully even 3, really, to get those extra defense dice while still maintaining the ability to just throw an extra hit in. I mean, if you miss completely on your roll, you still can throw that evade into it as a hit.
Yeah, for sure. Great. Okay, so the next one we have is Tetran Cowall. So this one is when you reveal a Kyogre maneuver, you may treat the speed of that maneuver as 1, 3, or 5. So for those of you playing at home, the dial of the Interceptor has a 3 and a 5 currently, but this also gives him the ability to do a 1. Any thoughts?
Have you ever done a 1K turn, Cheryl?
Like in real life?
Just
I can just turn around.
Like just gotta move forward about 1-ish and then just turn around immediately. Have you ever done that?
No.
I guess the point of my question is that this is the first time that you have ever been able to do a 1K turn.
Yeah.
Neat.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. So does that mean that you could reveal a 5, but then change it to a 1?
Yes. And it means you can change it to
3.
a 3, right?
Or you could leave it.
Yeah.
Those would be your options. You're welcome, Internet.
You can do all 3. Right.
So that's also really fun because he's going to move hypothetically towards the end pilot skill 7.
Yes.
So if something totally throws you for a loop, you have additional options, which I think is cool.
Yeah.
And especially because with a K turn, you're oftentimes going, like if you were going to run into someone, you've now stressed your ship and lost the advantage that you were trying to create for yourself.
Yes.
So this makes that a way better situation if that ever
Absolutely.
happens.
Yeah, I mean, I think you took the words right out of my mouth. I've been playing a lot recently with Boba Fett because I like his ability to kind of choose. And I think one of the things that makes the Interceptor great, and what is really cool about this ability, is having agency in the activation round.
Mm-hmm.
And I think pilots that can kind of see things and change their movement, either with boost or barrel roll, have a huge advantage over pilots that just simply have to reveal their maneuver template. So I totally agree with you. I think this is really huge. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, a 1K turn, which hasn't been done much before, is
Yeah.
really going to change. Like, if I see this card on the table, it's going to change what I'm doing
Yeah.
a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Because it'll be a lot more difficult to kind of game theory my way into guessing what you're going to do.
Yeah,
Because you
for
don't
sure.
get that opportunity.
Well, and I get to change it in the moment if
Right.
you do something. So, yeah, I think that's really interesting. And I think in addition to that, because I've been thinking mostly about it as an up close thing, but I think even just the ability to get back in the fight immediately when you normally can't, like you're on the fringe anyways, and it would mean normally you'd have to do a 3-out. So I've been thinking about it from the perspective of being in the middle of the fight, but I think being on the edge and being able to basically turn around right away, I think is going to be really cool too. So yeah, that's cool.
Cool.
Rad.
Last guy, I think Carnor Jax, pilot skill 8, cost 26. And his thing is that enemy ships at range 1 cannot perform focus or evade actions and cannot spend focus or evade tokens. And he still has the elite pilot, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's huge.
So thoughts?
So I played against him the other night. I was playing Bombers the other night, and I played against him. I think he's brutal. I think so. My initial thought was, oh, he's going to be difficult because you can't spend evade or focus tokens. I thought about it from a defensive perspective. Mm-hmm. So like you're attacking somebody, they automatically can't evade, they automatically can't spend focus. That's brutal. That stinks. But it also means they can't use things like those against you in an attack.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's area effect, so it's just general. It's I think it's really brutal. I was flying in formation, and the guy moved up next to me, so I couldn't even see him, but he's just next to me, and it was impossible basically to do anything with focus at that point, and it was really tough. Yeah, it was super frustrating.
Yeah.
One key point in this card is that it's not when attacking or defending from this guy. It's just anything at range 1 that's an opponent.
Yes.
It can't use those.
Yes.
One thing that I just thought of, that I hadn't thought of before, is it's going to kind of push a lot of players into an offensive strategy using target locks instead.
Yeah.
So it's something that it's a good idea to target lock sometimes if you feel like you're not going to utilize the focus token so you can get it for a later turn. But when I'm facing a Carnor Jax, it's going to see a lot more target locks than anything else. So to some degree, that almost negates his ability. So if you're playing against a really smart player, it might actually end up hurting you to have a high cost guy taking up this space if they're just using target locks.
Yeah, that's a good point. But it is going to be brutal in mirror matches because most Imperials are either going to have to run targeting computer or don't have target locks. It's coming up. It's coming up. Right. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
It's like clear.
No, but you're right. Yeah. So in a mirror match, it's going to be the best.
Yeah, it's going to be brutal.
Mirror match would imply they have Carnor Jax too. But against any Imperial.
Imperial.
Yeah. But at the same time, it's real easy to forget to remember about a pilot's ability.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, round 3, when you're just fighting for the first time, you're probably going to run into someone that focused everything, and they're not going to be able to use them, and that will feel really good.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, it will. Yeah, action denial is really great in this game, so when you can do it, it's going to be huge. So I think that's huge for this. So cool.
You know what we should do now?
What's that?
We should talk about the upgrade cards.
Okay, yeah, let's talk about the upgrade cards. So first one up, would you like to start?
Sure.
Okay.
So the first one is the Royal Guard tie, and this is for tie interceptors only.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a title. You may equip up to 2 different modification upgrades instead of 1. You cannot equip this card if your pilot skill value is 4 or lower.
Yep.
And thoughts?
So I think, obviously, this card is really key just to this pack in general. I think Max is looking back at the pilots, and so that means Saber Squad is out at this point. So you can't use the Saber Squad for this one.
But that's okay.
Yeah.
Because for 1 point more, you can get your favorite.
Yeah, one of my favorite cards from the pack. Absolutely.
The Royal Guard tie.
Yeah.
Wait, no. The Royal Guard pilot.
Royal Guard pie.
Piloting the Royal Guard tie.
Absolutely. And you don't even have to use, this is like the Slave 1 upgrade. You can just throw it on there.
It's free.
Yeah, it's free, and I think that's
so
huge. So the Royal Guard tie, 2 modification cards. One thing of note is it's the first non-unique title that we've ever had.
Oh.
So we've had, obviously, Slave 1 and Millennium Falcon and the shuttle title.
Moldy Crow also.
The Moldy Crow.
What's the shuttle one? Oh, it's some number.
Yeah, it's ST
guys.
something or other.
You couldn't have thought of something better.
I'm sure it's like that's what Vader's shuttle is named or something like that. All right, look, you rebel scum, knock it off. So first non-unique title, which means there's a bunch of them. If you bought the pack, it comes with 2. In fact, all of these upgrade cards, there are 2 of them. That's worth noting right off the bat. And with this, you can equip 2 modification cards.
It's good.
What do you think?
Well, I can't equip 2.
Yeah, because you're not running interceptors.
I don't have interceptors.
Yeah,
I mean, I do, but
But I don't.
we'll see. I mean, maybe one day I'll walk over to the dark side. Who knows?
We would love to have you.
Yeah.
We have a party.
This is
Are
where the
there-
Romeo Juliet situation comes in.
The membership fee for being on the dark side, it's very low. You just have to hate everything.
I've also heard that there's cake.
There's cake.
Good. Okay.
So Royal Guard tie, the ability to do 2 modifications. Thoughts?
I love it. I wish that I could do it.
Yeah.
But it's free. Anything that's free is good in my
Yeah.
mind. And again, when you have him with the title, it turns into something that no other interceptor or no other ship can even do.
Yeah.
You could get, a bunch of extra, I don't know, shields.
Yeah. Well, it's
2
different.
extra shield.
They
Oh,
have
you
to be 2 different ones. They have to be different.
I'm crazy.
No, it's fine. But it does mean, and we're going to talk about hull upgrade in a second, but that is something you can throw onto it.
Oh yeah.
So that will be something you can absolutely do.
Yeah, I love that.
Next one is not one this is one we've seen before. It was included in the Millennium Falcon pack. There were 2 in there, but we have 2 more, and it's the shield upgrade. So for 4 points, you just have 1 more shield. I will say right off the bat, I love that they included it. So it doesn't mean that if you are really keen on running interceptors, you have to go out and buy another Millennium Falcon. That you just have it in the pack. So I really love that. I think that's really cool that they didn't do, because that could be one thing that they could have done, but decided not to. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this already existed.
Yes.
But it costs 4.
Yes.
But especially as a rebel pilot, the shields are such a huge thing.
Yeah.
They soak up a crit.
Yes.
They make sure that you live longer, and that's something that the interceptors really needed.
Yeah, for sure.
So, I mean, they always could put on a shield upgrade, but
yes,
with the card we just talked about, they could do a shield upgrade and something else.
Right, absolutely.
So, I love it.
Yeah, so that and a stealth device, that and a hull upgrade, that and a lot of other things. So
whatever.
Other things. So yeah, next we have Push the Limit. Mm-hmm. Also not another card which is new, but was included before in the A-Wing pack. Even though it really, for all intents and purposes, really felt like it fit with the Interceptor.
Yeah.
So really glad that they included that. Other thoughts that you guys have?
I mean, I think that Push the Limit is heavily used already, but it's always great to have more and without having to purchase ships that you don't want.
Yes.
So I love it.
So speaking of shield upgrade. We just talked about hull upgrade is our next card. So hull upgrade is 3 points, and you increase your hull by a value of 1. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, especially for the Interceptor, it's super valuable because that's what they need.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, same for the shield upgrade. Like those two things, and you could even use both of them with that Royal Guard. But the longer that they live, the more damage they're going to be able to do. And you know that both of these cards together or even separate really help a lot with the things that people thought were the biggest weakness for the Interceptor.
Yeah, I like that I like that it exists because it's one less than the shield upgrade. Shield upgrade, while it definitely feels priced correctly, it also feels incredibly difficult to run because spending 4 points on just about anything is really hard to do.
Yeah.
So I really like that. I like that it's cheaper. So if you just need more hit points and you need it a little bit cheaper, I love that. Can I ask a question? How would you feel about running? Can I ask a question? No. Okay. No. How do you feel about doing Royal type pilot upgrade, the title, with both the hull upgrade and shield upgrade? So that's 7 points.
Yeah, that's
to spend for 2 hit points for 2 upgrade or 2 hit points.
It feels like a lot, but also 2 hit points. You're almost doubling the amount of hit points.
Yes.
So.
That's
and one of them is shield.
Yeah.
Part of the beauty of the Royal Guard pilot is that it's only 22, so you could run 4 with other upgrade cards, right? Potentially.
Yes,
if you max out its hit points with both hull and shield upgrade, now you can only run 3.
Yeah.
Because that's 29 points.
Right.
So it's tough, but one of the things that I've thought of, and I don't know if this is going to be a thing or not, and it probably won't be me that tries it out, but if you had 2 Royal Guards with this kind of upgrade to them, and then something else, some either big ship or another kind of little cadre of ships, that might be a really powerful kind of strike force to come in first, and then have whatever else is coming along with it.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't know. People, try everything. You'll try everything. And it's going to be super fun to see what happens.
Yeah. But
the 2 together, 2 hit points is huge.
Yeah.
So
I've gone back and forth on this one because I think it takes you up to about what an X-Wing is. That's I think, the thought process that I've been going through. So initially I didn't like it because I was like, that's 7 points. And that's so much. If I'm doing that on 2 ships, then that's 14. And obviously, multiples of there. If you remember your multiplication table, you know how many that works out.
28.
Right. So my initial reaction was, gosh, this is so expensive. But I think to have an X-Wing that could fly like an Interceptor, if you kind of mentality that way.
And with more agility.
Like it might almost be interesting. Now you run less, but also you have a better dial, you have a barrel roll, you have a boost. It might be something. I definitely am going to try it. Like probably tonight even. It's been hard because I haven't been able to think about Imperial Aces because it hasn't been legal for store championships. So it's just been something I haven't even let come into my brain pan.
But it's coming soon, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure. So.
All right. So next we have Opportunist, which is apparently the talk of the town. Which when it... It is.
It is. Yeah, it is. You're totally right. Yeah.
When attacking, if the defender does not have any focus or evade tokens, you may receive 1 stress token to roll 1 additional attack die. You cannot use this ability if you have any stress tokens.
Cool. Really cool.
It's cool.
Yeah, it's really. I think it's really, really cool.
The more attack die you can get, the better.
Yeah.
Always.
So the obvious difficulty of it right off the bat, I'll mention a couple things. It's 4. So it costs 4 points. So that's very difficult right off the bat. We talked about that earlier. 4 points is just often very difficult to spare. The other thing that's really unique about it is it's for people who don't have any evade or stress tokens. And elite pilot folks, pilots who are going to do elite pilot talents typically are doing it at the beginning of the, like, they are going to go first more often. So they are going to be your pilot skill 6 through 9 typically. There are a few exceptions like the Black Squadron pilot, and I'm sure there are some in the Rebels that I can't think of. But as far as that goes, this is really going to be kind of limited to folks who are going to be in that kind of top tier most of the time.
Yeah.
So that is a little bit more difficult. So I think you're trying to pin it on people who have high pilot skill, but maybe not necessarily the highest. Well, okay. Yeah.
So, I mean,
does that make sense?
Going into this, I initially was only thinking about using this card with the Interceptors, which kind of makes sense.
Okay, yeah, sure.
With it. But,
right.
I mean, you could throw it on a Green Squadron pilot for an A-Wing, and he's only 3 pilot skill, and that is going to turn him into someone who's going to be able to take advantage.
That's interesting.
He has to live long enough to do it, but it's something that can that would be an opportunity for the opportunist, so to speak.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that made me most excited when I saw this card was Carnor Jax, but it doesn't work as well as we would like because he's such a high pilot skill.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, absolutely. Well, and with Carnor Jax, his ability is because he's the one, he lets you keep them from...
So enemy ships that are at range 1 of him can't perform focus or evade actions and can't spend focus or evade tokens.
Oh, I actually dislike it with him.
I agree.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I thought that I loved it.
Oh, I see.
Because basically my thought was, hey, this guy's going to get in there, the other guys aren't going to be able to take their actions.
Yeah.
And then all will be good with the world because he gets an extra attack die.
Right.
But in reality, he goes later in the movement, so he's going to get up close. They already have their tokens.
Yes.
And now it's even at a point where they can't spend them, so they just hold on to them.
Yeah.
So then Opportunist is now a waste.
Right.
So it's kind of tough for him. He doesn't take opportunities well.
No. But it is going to be great for Royal Guard pilots, especially if you can keep it low on them. Throwing it onto a Saber Squad pilot totally makes sense.
Yeah, it works really well with him.
Yeah, with pilot skill 4, if you have some guys who are going before him.
Yeah, I feel like anything 4 or lower is what will take best advantage of it.
Yeah, absolutely. It sort of feels almost slimy, like it's that card that kind of feels like you've got, like, he's the guy who, like, kind of comes in from behind and, like, sucker punches them, like you've been dealing with the other guys, and now, and that's great.
Yeah.
What is that?
That was a slimy sucker punch explosion.
Slimy sucker punch explosion is one of my favorite bands right now.
They're not my favorite. Too much bass.
Okay. Opportunist, great. Obviously great with the Interceptor because can clear stress really easily, so really great to be able to do that and then clear the next round.
Right. Yeah,
sounds like it may be good for the A-Wing as well.
Yeah, I hope so. I'll try it out.
Cool.
We'll see.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
Would you like to finish this off?
Yeah. We have finally the targeting computer.
Yeah.
There's not too much to it, but it's kind of fun. So it costs 2. Basically, it just gives any ship a target lock ability.
Yeah. Thoughts about this? About targeting computer? Any thoughts on this?
Do you ever target lock? Either of you guys? Well, you don't.
I do all
often.
the time.
I basically never do.
Yeah.
Well, that's not
because
true.
Because you can't.
Well, I will say, so in doing the bombers, I had to. So I was doing bombers for a long time. I've more or less retired them for the moment, but that was a culture change for me because I was used to flying ships that basically never had target locks, moving to a ship that required target locks. So mentally, that really was a shift in the gears for me. So I will say, I'll say about targeting computer. I looked it up. I think all of the rebel ships, I believe all of the rebel ships have a target lock. So as I looked into it, I'm pretty certain that all of the rebel ships have it. So it's not something that will be able to be taken advantage of there. I think it is best with the interceptors. I think a lot of people have done stuff with Jendon up to this point, the shuttle pilot who lets you pass target locks to other people. I think they've been doing stuff with that with their interceptors. So I think this is going to be a welcome change. And I think in addition to that, being able to do something like push the limit on one means that you'll be able to get a target lock and a focus, or a target lock and evade. And if you're someone like Suntir Fel, that means you're going to get a target lock, an evade, and a focus token in the same round. So I think it's going to be a huge change for the for someone like Suntir Fel, because I think it'll be obvious where that will fit in as far as that goes.
Do you target lock?
All the time.
Yeah, I was going to say, I do all the time.
I was going to say, I feel like you basically default to target lock.
It depends on the situation, but I feel like a lot of the time, especially newer players, default to focus because it's easier to think about. You just focus, and if you go and do a quick Google search, the math says that offensively a target lock is the same as a focus, but focus also gives you defense. But one thing that this card is going to do for the Imperials in a big way is going to kind of plan for the future turns. You know, so when I'm at a point where I'm facing a ship and I can only hit one ship and I know he's going to die no matter what, if I can target lock someone behind me, that's now set me up for 2 or 3 turns later, so that I can then do exactly what we're talking about, get a focus and a target lock, not on the same turn, but it ends up both being there for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's just something to kind of plan for a little bit more, and it takes a lot of additional thought to figure out who the right target lock person is. But I'm excited for it. I think it's something that'll be really new for a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been trying to figure out where it would make sense. Right now, it makes the most sense to me on the interceptors. The interceptor seems, especially one with push the limit, really seems to make the most sense.
I agree.
It will be interesting to see other, because obviously TIE fighters haven't been able to up to this point, and that could be really interesting. I go back and forth on how interesting, but it could be interesting.
Cool.
This is our first refresh, first repaint pack. We have a ship which already had a lot of pilots. I mean, if you think about it, it had 3 lower level pilots, 3 kind of no-name pilots. It had 2 higher level pilots. Nope, 3 higher level pilots. And then now we have, I think, a total of 5 new pilots if you include the Royal Guard pilot. So doesn't include Saber Squad, but I think everybody else. So I think that's a total of 5 new pilots. In addition to that, a lot of cool new upgrades. So let's talk first about it for the Interceptor. What do you guys think as far as improving the Interceptor, as far as helping out the Interceptor? How do you feel about it?
I think that it adds a lot of dynamic ability to the Interceptor in both pilots and upgrades. I do think, and I think we've even talked about before, that it's not quite what we expected when the Imperial Aces was announced. Only because it seems like while there's a lot of really cool new things to do, it may not be quite as powerful as some people expected it to be. Or still expect it to be, maybe.
Right.
So it's definitely gonna play a lot with some of the builds that people had already.
Yeah.
But there aren't a lot of things in here that someone like me is going to look at and say, oh, this is something that's going to make me switch over to the Imperials and field a new tournament list.
That's
like, I'm not going to go into a tournament fielding this to win a game. I might play with it a lot because there's a lot of fun things in it.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's going to be the be-all, end-all to make Interceptors really worthy of my joy.
Okay. All right. Cheryl, any thoughts?
I mean, I have not very deep thoughts about it because I just don't.
You don't tend to run this ship.
Or I've never played with it in my life, I think.
Right. Okay,
so,
good. Yeah, right.
Yeah. But I do think the idea of, like, from an aesthetic point of view, having, like, different painted ships.
Yes.
And that part, I really like that. Like, I think that's really fun to have some, like, visual diversity among the ships. and adding color and stuff like that. So I really like that. And I think that, I think that the ships, like Max said, sound really fun to fly.
Yeah.
And that's my thoughts.
Okay, good. No, I think that's really great. I totally agree with you on the aesthetic perspective. I think obviously this game has one of the big things that it's done. I mean, I think this game has been a testament to Fantasy Flight because it managed to grab me, and I swore I would never play a miniatures game ever. Like, I would never play a miniatures game. But I think you're right, and I think the ability to have ships which are painted differently is really huge. Mm-hmm. And in addition to that, I think it's been a bit of a criticism that Fantasy Flight has moved slowly through everything, that they don't put out as many ships as some of the other flight path systems, that they don't put out nearly as much as they could. And I think one of the things that I really like about it is you can tell there's a careful thought process behind it. So both in the painting and in a lot of the ship stuff. Now, to Max's point, one other thing that I think is really key about it is, again, going back to that idea of if it's 5 hit points, like a X-Wing, you theoretically are talking about something that has a better dial and can kind of fly, not only has a better dial, but has a lot of different maneuverability things. So I think that it could be better than some of my initial kind of reactions to it.
Sure. Yeah, I agree. And, I mean, people run 3 X-Wings, so why not run 3 Interceptors that have shield and hull upgrade?
Right.
Why not?
Right.
It'll be fun.
Yeah, it'll definitely be fun to see.
One interesting thing that may happen is it could change the way that a formation gets flown, too. So, a lot of the time now, if you go to a tournament and you find some experienced player, they're going to end up putting their ships, in a single formation and flying together to try to, maximize their abilities to fire.
Yeah.
But with these and the way that they can move a little bit differently than each other,
yeah.
If you're flying 4 Interceptors, and especially if you're flying 4 that include named pilots,
yeah,
you're probably not going to be able to keep them all together because they're going to be too interested in doing individual maneuvers. Doesn't mean they can't focus all of their fire on one ship,
right,
but they're not going to be in a block like they used to be.
Right.
So that'll be kind of a change to both, someone playing against them and for someone flying them for the first time. It'll be an interesting thought process.
Yeah, for sure. I think the Interceptor continues to be one of those ships that doesn't make a lot of sense if you're not a really great pilot. Like, it can be one of those things where you've just put a lot of points into a really small frame, and that frame will then betray you because it does that. So, but I will say overall, I'm really excited about it. I'm excited to get a lot of these cards out there. I think this is a huge boost for the Empire in general, being able to use things like hull upgrade, being able to use things like Opportunist, and also targeting computer. I think is going to be a lot of really fun things. So, yeah.
And I think it's good for the game overall.
Yeah.
A lot of people were, frustrated or annoyed at the amount of extended universe stuff that's coming and is already out, to be fair.
Sure.
But, I mean, there's only so far that we can go with everything that came from the original trilogy.
Sure.
And, I mean, for me personally, I love the idea of an ever-growing game and an ever-changing game. And I like that things aren't just coming out once a month. I really love that because it gives us all a chance to kind of take in what's new, play around with it for a couple months, and then when something new comes out, it's also not a huge surprise, and it's not going to immediately take effect everywhere. Not everyone's going to go out and buy 2 of these packs and run 4 Interceptor builds.
Right.
It's not going to happen. So it's going to be kind of a slow change, and that's one of the things that I love about this game is that you tend to see the same things in other people's builds, but they slowly evolve and change instead of just a sudden flip of the switch like in a lot of other collectible games.
Yeah, that's fair. For someone who plays recreationally, who as far as like competition and all that, they're not as excited about it. What do you think this gives them? Anything that you think that does for them?
Cool paint jobs,
yeah.
First of all.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, there are so many people on whatever website you go to for your news and whatever that they played miniatures before and were used to painting, or they're such hardcore Star Wars fans that they were like, oh, this Interceptor is cool, but it could be cooler with stripes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, like, those people out there were already painting their figures, but there's plenty of people out there that felt the same way, that didn't feel confident in painting their figures.
Yeah, for sure.
And I love that idea.
Yeah, that's
me too. Yeah,
sure.
I feel like I'm going to just mess it up the moment I do.
Yeah, for sure.
I never do.
Yeah, I think that's really great. I also just love that there's a lot more diversity for someone who wants, I love my Interceptor, but I wish it had more stuff, and now they have it. So I'm excited for that for them too.
Because then they'd have it.
Because then they would have it, absolutely.
And buying one pack with 2 ships is also new and can be fun.
Yeah. And I think this is a really great pack for that as well. I think this really adds a lot of stuff to your ships right off the bat. So I think that's really fun.
Yeah, and I mean, in the same way, someone could go out and buy a base set and this Aces pack and the Rebel Aces pack once it's out, and you probably can end up with like a 100-point build just to play against each other right from there.
Yeah, for sure.
The investment may be a little bit more worthwhile for someone who does want to play casually but wants to field a few more ships.
Yeah, I was going to say, I like this. I like with this with Suntir Fel, but I think I feel differently about the Rebel Aces. I think Rebel Aces, I will probably feel more comfortable going out and grabbing that before or instead of the other ones. Yeah.
Sure.
Cool. That is a lot of stuff. And we hope you guys enjoyed it. We have had a fun time. It's been fun having Max here.
I love it.
Thanks for coming, Max.
I was here already.
You were at our house. That's true. You were coming anyways. But I hope you guys had a good time. Thanks for being here, Max. So we will see you guys next time.
Keep playing awesome games.
Bye. Okay, so we're going to now... So let's talk about the upgrade cards that come.
Sorry.
It's fine.
That was very funny. So what? No, just get it all out right now. Just do it. Is that Anchorman or is that something else? What was it? Oh, this is. No. I don't know how these work.
Tell me my collar was complete.
Was it? I don't think you can see it because someone's gonna comment and just say, "How did her collar flip right side out?"
Okay.
Sorry.
Are you guys ready?
So ready.